Salutations, respective viewers. I'm George from Ireland. My goodness, what does the lighting do to my eyeshadow, the bags under my eyes? I'm not that jaded, nor indeed have I done a few rounds with Mike Tyson. All right, so this is about Samira Ahmed, Jeremy Vine, and the BBC. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Not the BBC. It's not a gendered thing, I don't think. So the two aforementioned people, they are BBC journalists, and they present various programs. And they're both very distinguished for decades in the BBC. BBC is the British Broadcasting Corporation, in case you don't know. And there's been a row going on for a few years about top salaries in the BBC. Now, it's instructive to note that the BBC is funded through television licenses. So people from outside the United Kingdom will probably be unaware of this. The BBC, when it was set up in 1922, was set up on a non-commercial basis as a radio station, first of all, then as a television station as well from 1936. Obviously, it's got several television channels, but it doesn't carry advertising. I know the BBC abroad, BBC America, BBC India, and so forth, has advertising, but in the United Kingdom itself, it's got no adverts at all, not allowed. So how does it raise revenue? If you have a television in the United Kingdom, you're required to purchase a television license, and that costs something of the order of £150 per annum per television, not per person. We don't know how many people watch a particular TV. If you've got more than 2 TVs in your house, you've got to have more than one license. Now, not very easy to enforce. Sometimes they'll write saying, "Oh, we think we've got a television and not paying the license fee," but people get away with it. Anyway, so that's that. What if you never switch on the BBC? You still have to pay. Isn't that unfair? Okay, that's another debate. But this is what it makes it particularly contentious, BBC salaries, because it's funded from licence payers to pay for BBC television and BBC radio. Whether you watch it every day, whether you never watch it, you still got to pay. Whereas other channels, they raise their revenue through advertisements. They sell this space for commercial broadcasting on their channel. But the BBC is unique in this manner. It's meant to be public service broadcasting, untainted by any financial inducements or pressures. Anyway, so these two people are political journalists of roughly the same age, and they're both distinguished. I admire their work in both cases. But it transpired that Samira Ahmed is paid under £500 per episode of the show that she presents. And presenting a segment of the same show, Jeremy Vine is paid, I believe I'm right in saying £4,000. I could have it wrong, £3,000. But anyway, it's multiples of what the woman is paid for that self-same show. But the thing is, she only earns about 500 quid per show. And she only does it once a week. She does other things for the BBC. I don't know what salary she gets for that. Well, dums, my heart bleeds. Okay, I know presenting it only takes about an hour, but there is research and preparation, so I'm not pretending it's £500 an hour. But still, tough, that's it, okay? If you don't like your salary, get a different job. You could try and negotiate a higher salary. They might not give it to you. Tough. Now, if they had to change the salary, they could reduce Jeremy Vines. There's no reason to pay him so much. Because if it's about having big stars, leave it to the market. There are many other channels which people watch, and advertisers will purchase airtime on that channel precisely because they know how many viewers it's got. And the more viewers you have, the more people are willing to pay for those advertising slots. All right? That's obviously logical. It's laws of supply and demand. Plus, they're looking to the demographics. They're targeting their product, their services at whatever segments of the population. And so therefore, if you're selling like male products, like let's say razors or something, a program will overwhelmingly attract men. You'll be trying to advertise on that show. If it's for little girls, it's advertising dolls, for example. If it's for older women, whatever, Revitalift, things like that. Hello there, a friend from Ulster's watching it. Straight white British Protestant. I thought of paying a visit to Derry before the year is out, but I don't know where you reside. So if they had to change the salaries of these two journalists, lower Jeremy Vines down to hers. Because if he really wants a high salary, there are other channels he could work for. Is he solely actuated by this disinterested desire to inform the public? And they say they're liberal left, they're lovies. The BBC, there have been internal memoranda saying that's the trouble, is we're so left-wing, and also we're actually too ethnically diverse. Okay, they're more proportionally more ethnic minority people in the BBC than the population in general. Now, it doesn't bother me. I wouldn't mind if it's 100% ethnic minority in the BBC, but it might bother some people, and that's that. Now, there are many gifted journalists, and these are two of them, fair-minded, even-handed. I don't accuse neither of these two particular of bias, but he's often said there's BBC bias. I think there is a bit. I do think it's overblown sometimes. And they've sometimes on the board of the BBC, there have been some Conservative politicians, not just Labour ones or Liberal Democrat ones. But one thing I'm always waiting to hear, let's hear a good news story about Brexit. Wouldn't that be refreshing just for once? Saying Brexit opens golden opportunities, people are really excited, could be fantastic. Day after day, it's doom and gloom about Brexit. It's going to be a calamity. There's going to be this cataclysmic economic meltdown, blah, blah, blah. Public services are going to stop functioning. So there are always these jeremiads against Brexit, and never anything to balance out. A little corrective would be useful. So that's my take on Samira Ahmed. If you don't think the salary is enough, get another job. That's anyone else to do. You can try and negotiate another job. Well, sorry, a higher salary. How does Jeremy Vine, have a higher salary? He was more effective in negotiating. He played hardball. He threatened to leave. I don't know what went on. Okay, people say, is it an old boys network? They liked him. He's one of us. There's this sort of familiarity bias. A white man speaking to another white male will cut him a good deal. That's the argument of white privilege. I don't know it to be complete bunkum. There could have been that as well. So there we are. I really don't think the BBC wants to discriminate against women or indeed ethnic minority people. I could be mistaken, and that's that. But fair enough to Samira Ahmed. I can't see a good reason why Jeremy Vine should be paid 6 or is it 8 times more than her for doing the same job. It does strike me as grossly unfair. Some discrepancy, you could justify if it was a 10% or 20% gap. Even that would be quite big. Because is he more experienced? I'm not sure. Is he more popular? I'm not sure. So that's that. Other people, you accepted the salary. That's it. Okay? And they accepted the salary. It'd be wrong for them to come and say, actually, we're arbitrarily cutting it, which is my suggestion that they ought to slash Jeremy Vine's salary down to scale with hers, would probably not wash. But there we are. They're hugely overpaid. And remember, this is in a sense a poll tax. All right, people aren't legally obliged to purchase a television, but everybody has them, even if they never watch BBC. And the BBC is then paying millions to big names to get celebrities on various other shows. Sheer entertainment. I perceive an argument for public servant broadcasting. We need to report things in an objective manner, be completely impartial, and they're largely non-partisan. Whereas when it comes to entertainment, that really is about bums on seats. There are other channels can do it better, have bigger checkbooks, and that would actually leave the BBC more for to spend on in-depth programs that wouldn't otherwise be made, morally improving programs, whatever morals are supposed to promote, self-improving programs, and so on. I remember all this drivel about when Naga Munchetti, if I got her name right, she denounced racism by Trump and said she knows what it's like to be an ethnic minority person, verbally abused and told she doesn't belong in the country she was born in. And then the BBC said, oh, well, we shouldn't have slapped her across the wrist for this. Racism is not an opinion, it's racism with racism. No shit, like, an apple is an apple, or the morning is the morning. This pseudo-profundity was ludicrous and nauseating. Racism is an opinion, and it's also racism. It's a very distasteful one, okay? It's something we should fight against, but I don't think the BBC should be promoting an agenda, even one I consider to be laudable. It's always instructive to ask yourself, how would you feel if the boot were on the other foot? Supposing the BBC was a frankly racist organisation and they decided that they would act in furtherance of their racialist agenda, would that be acceptable? And if it's not, it mustn't be acceptable as the other way, just because, okay, racism is bad. You might say, oh, well, yes, but it's an immoral cause, so therefore any ethical principles can be cast aside. We don't have to pretend to be remotely objective because, this is the optimum is annihilating racism. All right, so that's my take on the Samira Ahmed and Jeremy Vine thing. I don't think Jeremy Vine has weighed into this row. She's not taking issue with him. She just thinks that she's been hard done by being underpaid, being theirs for a song. Right, signing off now. So please follow my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Actually, I don't have to update this very much. And you get lessons with me, things like that. What else was I going to point out? So Yeah, I teach people online lessons in GCSEs and A levels, all humanities subjects. Donate to you on Patreon, georgecallahan79 at gmail.com, or indeed, sorry, that's PayPal, or indeed on Patreon. Right. Good evening, good night, toodaloo.